Dennis, you see a lot of people when they put a saddle on a horse, they just put the blanket on, then put the saddle on and cinch it up. Is there anything you can do with the saddle blanket to make the saddle fit the horse a bit better?
When I put the saddle on, of course it'll be down, tied on the horse's back. I like to pick it up at the withers and pick your saddle up and pull that blanket up and give some slack in there where I can get my hand under it. It just relieves the pressure off of right there on the top of the withers. And I don't care if it's 25 below, pull your glove off and rub that horse's belly with your bare hand where you know there is nothing. You might have brushed there, but there could be a cuckle burr, there could be a prickly pear sticker. You want to make sure that's clean. When you go to cinch up, don't just hog it in them. This mare's a little cinchy. See that reaction? Just pull it up a little bit. Go do something else. Go braid her tail. Pull the flank cinch up. And it too. I don't pull it as tight. Move her a step or two, and then you can cinch her up a little bit more. If you just hog it in her, she's going to blow up. And you need to avoid that by just using a little common sense.
How many wraps do you like to take around the cinch?
I just take one. Most people ride a long latigo and they take two. I ride a short latigo and I just take one, get it to the hole, and then back to here. Okay, we want a breast collar that fits. Most breast collars on the market are way too big. This breast collar is for a small horse, but you can also put it on a big horse. This mare weighs 1,300 pounds. I just use more of my tug, and I can put this breast collar on a 2-year-old. A lot of breast collars will come all the way to the D-ring, and then you wrap them and wrap them and wrap them, and then you have a knot. And this, putting it here versus putting it here, is personal preference. I put it here a lot of times. This particular saddle, I put it up here. I sort of like the angle from here, but it's personal preference, whatever you like. But you want a breast collar that is short enough that you're not hitting your knees on the buckle every time your horse moves.
And how tight, I guess, do you have that everywhere?
I've got it where there's some slack. There's slack underneath the belly. I don't want it pulling back into her. And this is an interesting little piece. This is a hobble. Your tie-down strap goes through there. Well, if you've got a tie-down, a head setter, an eye wire, eye rope, whatever you're riding on their head that you're tying down to the cinch, if you go straight from it to the cinch, this is very, very dangerous. If a horse puts their head down, they can step through it, and when they step through it, the back of your head's going to hit the ground. That's what I put this little hobble on the front of my breast collar, and I made it out of leather. You can make it out of a nylon string, you can make it out of a hay string, anything. Run your tie-down strap behind there, and then snap it to the cinch. And when a horse puts his head down, it keeps the tie-down strap up where they can't step through it. It's just a big safety factor. On a cinch, I like for the center D-rings to be exactly in the center of the horse's belly and come up high enough on the side that you have 6 to 8 inches from the D-ring to your cinch buckle on both sides. And if it's more than that or less than that, you need a different size cinch. You don't want the cinch up here so close you can't adjust it, and you don't want it so down so far that you've got 18 inches of latigo showing.
So the latigo on both sides got to be the same
distance on both sides.
What would be the average size horse's cinch girth, do you think?
Most
How long
of
would
your
it be?
cutters wear a 26 to 28. Some, the bigger end will wear a 30. This mare wears a 38.
Right. Another really important safety tip, Dennis, is, and you see a lot of wrecks happen, is tying horses up. Talk us through the different knots and be aware of what you're tying to.
Right. You know, on this side we've got panels. There's steel posts on them. I would not tie to a panel. I would not tie to a steel post. It's dangerous. They can come loose. Don't tie to a board fence. Don't tie to the single board. You want to, if it's a board fence, be sure and go around the post. Here we've got a good pipe fence, and we could tie to this top rail, but she could go from one end to the other. So I'm going to tie around this little brace piece so that she's tied right here. And I don't want to tie down low. I want to tie from her shoulder above. And there's a variety of ways we can tie. And there is no right or wrong. It's what you like. I tie a bowline. That's just my favorite knot. I pull it up. And no matter how bad the wreck is, I can always get slack here and untie it. You'll notice I don't have her tied long where she can put her head on the ground. I don't have her tied up so close that she would be uncomfortable, but I have her about 18 inches.
Okay, was that a half hitch you sort of did round the top there?
I just did a loop, one on one side and one on the other side, so that it will not move up, and so that she can't slide up. If somebody else ties a horse down there, she can't slide over and go against them.
Okay, so you just did a bowline knot there. What about the quick release knots that you see people
and this
tying?
one is fine too, and a lot of people tie it. But sometimes the quick release isn't as quick as you think it is. If they haven't pulled on it, yes, it is a quick release. If they pulled on it, it can be real tight. But just go around and pull that through. And something, rather than walking off and leaving her like that, she could get a hold of this and untie herself. So what I will do there is I'll chain the end of it where I just pull the tail back through and just keep pulling it back through till I get to the end, and then I'll pull that down. Well, if she pulls on that, she can't untie herself. You see this at every show you go to. You see it in every barn you go to. They leave halters tied to the fence. It's very, very dangerous. A horse can come by and get in it. A rider can come by and hang a toe in it, break a leg. It's just very dangerous. Don't leave your halter tied up. If you leave it tied up, at least put it over the fence to the other side where nothing can get in it. But even better is untie it completely.